Hello and welcome back to Fashion with Sort Out YouTube channel. In today's tutorial, we are learning how to make this beautiful blouse top, and here we are going to be making use of shoulder dart bustier. We are cutting the flounce and everything that we have in this blouse. Now I have my pattern paper here and I've made some markings on it. But before I give label to all the markings that I've made, we are going to be considering our gap. And remember, our gap is nipple to nipple. So I'm going to be marking out my nipple to nipple on all the points. I mean from the neckline to the blouse length. And our gap, the gap we are working with is 8 inches. As you know that we do add sewing allowance to it, so I added 1 inch to it and divided it by 2, which gave us 4.5. So I am marking out 4.5 from the neckline right there to the blouse length. Right now I will give a label to all my markings, and the first line we have here is our corset, which is our shoulder to nipple. The next line is our underbust length, and the following is our waistline. Then the last is our blouse length. This is inclusive of the allowance, so we have 27 inches altogether, and the blouse length is 25 rather, and then we have 2 inches added to it as our sewing allowance. So now I'll come to my underbust length, and from my gap I'll come outward with 1.5 inches. Inward I'll come in by 1.5 inches also. On our waist I'm going to be marking 1 inch on each side of the gap line. The same thing I did here I'm going to do to my blouse length line. So I marked one inch on each side, inward and outward. What I'm going to do next is connect the 1 inch on the waist to the blouse length, the length line. The same thing I will do inward. After I've done this, I will connect my underbust to my waist. Remember, the underbust, the point on the underbust inward and outward was 1.5. So I connected the 1.5 to the 1 inch on the waistline. I hope you are not confused. So we'll move up to our neckline. On the neck outward, I'm going to mark 1.2 inch, and I'll come inward and mark 8 centimeters. So altogether it will give us 2 inches that were marked on the neckline. So next thing I'm going to do is take my cuff ruler and then connect the underbust point, the 1.5 point on the underbust. I'll connect it to the neckline the points that I just marked on my neckline. Do we get? So I'm going to connect it. Remember, we are doing shoulder dart bustier, so this is how to do it. I've connected it now. The same thing I will do to the other side, the inward side. I'm going to connect the 1.5 inch to the 8 centimeter I have on the inward. This is basically how to make a shoulder dart bustier. So now what I will do now is I'm going to shade all the parts that we are going to cut out. Just as you see me do, I'm going to shade everywhere that will be cut out. Now after this has been done, the next thing we'll consider is our shoulder, and the shoulder we are working with is 14 inches. So we'll have our 14 inches divided by 2 rather, which will give us 7 inches. And so remember that we are going to be cutting out 2 inches, that place shaded. So I'm going to replace it on the shoulder. So now that gives us 9 inches, and then to it also to avoid any error, I'm going to be adding 1 inch sewing allowance to the neck. So altogether I have 10 inches marked on the out on the shoulder. By the time we remove the 2 inches shaded, we'll have 8 inches left. So now I'm marking my chest line where we'll have our armhole. So now I'm taking my cuff ruler, I'll take my cuff ruler rather, and then make the cuff. So guys, this is just the safest way of having a shoulder that bustier cut. Now after all this have been done, the next thing we'll do is to input our body circumference on all our markings. And the first we'll work with our bust. The bust circumference we are working with is 39 divided by 4. We have 9.75. I'll mark out the 9.75 and then add 2.5 sewing allowance to it, just as you see me do. The same thing I have on the chest line, I will transfer to my corsets. Now 9.5 plus 9.75 plus 2.5 sewing allowance. I've marked it out also on my corset. I will then move down to my under bust length to input my under bust round, I mean the under bust circumference. Okay, I'm trying to connect the chest line to the corset since it's the same line. Now to my under bust length. The under bust circumference we are working with is 32 inches divided by 4. We have 8 inches. So I'm going to mark out my 8 inches. And so coming back to the shaded part, we have 3 inches together. You know, we had 1.5 inward and outward plus the 8 inches, that is 11. And then I'm going to add the extra 2.5 sewing allowance. Also to the waistline, our waist, the waist we are working with is 34 divided by 4. We have 34 divided by 4. We have 8.5. So I marked out the 8.5, add the 2 inches that we are going to cut out, and then the extra 2.5 sewing allowance. I'm going to connect all the points and make a cut of all. Before we cut the shaded part, remember that the blouse is cuffy at the waist, at the hip side. So I'm going to come up by 1.5 inch and then connect it to the center of the shaded part where we are going to cut out, just as you see me do. This is to give that side curve on the blouse. So now I'm going to cut every other part that is yet to be cut out. I'm cutting out all the shaded parts, and here we are with our shoulder that bustier. So I'm going to use this drafted pattern to cut both the lining and everything needed. So now I have the back pattern drafted. I'm using the normal princess dart. So I'm placing the side of the center front on the side front on it to get that curve shape we have at the side. So I'm cutting all other places also. So we have our front pattern and our back pattern. I'll just use it to cut our fabric. But before then, so that I won't be confused, let me just label it. The center front will be cut on fold and the side will be cut. We have our center back too, which include the zipper allowance. That one is not necessary to be on fold. So we have the center front on fold and the two sides, just as you can see. We also have our back. And what I will do now is go to the sewing machine. I'm also going to cut the pad. I'm using wording to pad it. Subsequently, I'll be showing you how to pad a dress. So we are padding only the front, as you know now. So I have it padded with the lining joint, everything joined now. You can see the effect of the padding, right? So right now we'll proceed to marking our neck circumference on it. Remember that while we were cutting, while we were drafting and cutting on the pattern paper, we didn't consider neckline. It was deliberate. This is just for us to be on a safe side. So now I'm placing the two together, and then we are cutting the front with the lining together, and same thing we'll do to the back. This is just for safety, because it can be complicated if care is not, attention is not given to details while cutting a shoulder dart bustier. So now for our neck, the neck is an high neck, so I'm using 3.5 by 3 for the front neck. As you can see, it's a round neck but a high neck, so I'm using 3.5 by 3 for the front and 3.5 by 1.5 depth for the back. But I'm going to cut it right now, and then we'll cut the back also. I must also tell you that for the lining, I reduced both for the front and the back. I reduced the lining by 1.5 inches. So the lining is 1.5 shorter than the main fabric. So we'll consider the zipper allowance for the back. That's for the lining. For the back, we are considering the zipper allowance, which is 1.5, and then the neck of 3.5. So altogether, we have 5 inches width and 1.5 inch depth for the back. I'm going to cut it out right now, and then the shoulder dart also, I'll proceed to the sewing machine and join everything and come back to show you the outcome. Right here we have our blouse fully ready. Everything has been joined, the sleeve has been fixed, the zip has been fixed. All we need to do now is to cut our flounce. But to know the accurate length of the flounce to cut, we'll place our tape rule on the underbust. So from the underbust, as you can see it, the underbust, you will just measure it back to the point where you want the flounce to stop at the back. So for me here, I have like 22 inches, but you know, you're not cutting the exact 22 inches. You must add some allowance to it, so that by the time you have it, you'll be able to make those pleats that you have on it. So I have my fabric folded. I'm cutting the flounce in form of a flare. So I'm not cutting flounce because of the material that I have. I'm using the same material as lining. So in order to manage the fabric, I'm cutting it in form of flare. At the end, I have like 38 inches length for each flare. So all I will have to do now is cut a side open, and then I'm going to cut a paper stay also the same length I have, and then iron it to each flounce. Each flare, I cut it in a flare way, just like I said. So all I will do is press it and come back to show you. I've ironed my stay to each flare, so I'm going to use the same. I'm going to use them to line each other, so that we'll have it neat and very beautiful, just like we have it on the picture, in the picture. So 2 flare for each side. I'm going to go to the sewing machine, join the flare, and then come back to show you how it will be fixed. Okay, so our flounce is ready now. All we have to do is fix it to the dress, and this is the way to fix it. You just take your pin and pin it down by starting from the underbust length, the underbust area that you saw me measure it with the other time. So you just place it, fix it, and pleat it on it. By the time you pleat it, it will give you direction, a good structure and direction as to what to sew. So it's very, very important that you pin it as you are pleating it before sewing. After sewing, what you will do is flip it to the other side and top stitch on it to make it to give you that standing structure you desire. We are gradually coming to the end of this video, and so I want to appreciate every one of our subscribers, our returning subscribers, and every of our viewers also. If you are here to subscribe to this channel, I want to appeal that you wait no further. Kindly subscribe to this channel. Also like, share, and make comments. And peradventure you have any question, don't hesitate to ask. Be sure that we'll answer. So this is the final look of the dress. You can see how beautiful it is, guys. So this is all it takes to make this dress. Thank you for staying through this time. See you in the next video. Bye.